Hi, I'm Steven Moe, and I'm here with Grant Adams. What we're going to do in a series of 3 videos is talk about the beginning of a meeting, the middle of a meeting, and the end of a meeting. And we really think that these principles will be applicable to anyone, whether you're a professional or whether you just attend meetings in an informal context. So, Grant, thinking about the principles, what's the first one?
Well, Steve, it was probably a very obvious thing to say, but quite often honoured in breach rather than observance, and that is prepare. Think about the meeting ahead of time. Even if you're in a rush, just take a few moments to jot some thoughts down. What do I expect from the meeting? What are the other attendees likely to be expecting? Now, sometimes that's quite well set out. They're here to sign documents. That's easy. But more often than not, the meeting has a broader perspective or a broader purpose, and so I need to think about what do I expect out of the meeting, and I'm sure almost every time I do that I find myself going into the meeting a little more confident and a little more certain about how long it should be and what I want to achieve out of it.
So, Grant, you're talking about more than just knowing the location of the meeting, the people that you're meeting, and what the subject of the meeting is, aren't you?
I certainly am, and as we all know, we get called into many meetings, and quite often without much notice, or more often we know when the meeting is, but we're so busy and we pack our agenda right up to the last moment. And I guess what I'm saying is if we can find space before that meeting to value the meeting and think about it, in my experience, it pays dividends.
What about some tips around the beginning of the meeting and when the people first arrive?
Well, greeting people, obviously. If there's more than one person, I think it's important to greet everyone, and perhaps there's an appropriate order for doing that, particularly if you've got an ethnic group where greeting the oldest person is most important, and so to be aware of those little niceties that can make a big difference to the way that your guests or your meeting partners are going to feel about the meeting that's just going to happen.
So what would you say is the next principle that would be helpful in meetings?
Sure, well, moving through to the meeting room, it's often, I think, appropriate to engage in small talk. Quite often people are coming to the meeting with various degrees of expectation and quite often a bit of apprehension. We get so used to meetings and often forget about that, so a bit of small talk. And if you know the folk, you've met them before, maybe this is a second meeting, perhaps relate back to something that's occurred before or something you have in common just to break the ice. But perhaps also not letting it go on for too long. If you do, then perhaps some of your meeting attendees might get a wee bit nervous about exactly how long this is taking, and for some, how much that might be costing them.
And what about getting the meeting proper underway?
Well, I think if you're thinking about the meeting itself, I think bring that small talk to a finish, and then I think one of the most important things in any meeting is to gather other people's expectations and form an agenda. Now, for formal meetings, we have an agenda for a very good reason. But most of our meetings are informal, but having an agenda that's agreed on is a very powerful tool to avoid distraction or deviation, or if there is deviation, to have a reason to bring everyone back on task. So it may not be written down. I think it helps if you do write it down, but at least if you get everyone's mind set on the purpose of the meeting. What are we here for?
Thanks very much for watching this video. Today we've been talking about the beginnings of meetings and preparing for them. The next video that we do will be talking about the middle of meetings.